Reverend Franklin Graham, meantime, the son of renowned preacher Billy Graham, said President Obama was born a Muslim because the religion's seed is passed from the father. Graham's comments come on the heels of two new polls revealing that more Americans believe President Obama is a Muslim than they did a year ago. In a Pew Research poll, 34% of voters thought Obama is Christian, but 18% say he's Muslim. Time magazine found 24% believe President Obama is a Muslim, while 47% say he is a Christian, 24% say, I don't know. The Time poll also found that among Republicans, 46% think the president is a Muslim. Cenk Uygur is host of the online show, The Young Turks. He's also a blogger. J.P. Freire is associate editor with the Washington Examiner. J.P., let me start with you and your reaction to Reverend Graham's comments.
I can't speak to those comments. I don't think that gets us, into a discussion that's really worth having. I think the most interesting thing about all of this, though, is that it does show sort of the tolerance of the American people, which is that typically when you have people that are uninformed, that don't know all of the facts, they tend to be more mean about things. And it seems like, given that they're both uninformed and very tolerant, it's sort of reassuring to see that even if they're uninformed, that things are fine, that they're willing to accept Obama on his merits.
Is that how you read this?
Not exactly, no. Because the people that are most uninformed are the Republicans, as you saw from that poll, and they're the people who voted against Obama. So it doesn't really make that point. And the reason to talk about Franklin Graham is because that's an idea that's being thrown out there by a lot of people. And, Rush Limbaugh is out there calling him Imam Hussein Obama. And what they want to do is they want to pretend that Barack Obama is Muslim and then say Muslims are radical and watch out for their mosques and they all did 9/11, and that's dangerous, and it's a terrible idea to spread across the country. That's what Franklin Graham did. I think PJ would be well served it's a very easy thing to say, I renounce that, and I think it's a terrible idea.
Well, let me read to both of you what the White House had to say about these polls. President Obama is a committed Christian, and his faith is an important part of his daily life. He prays every day. He seeks a small circle of Christian pastors to give him spiritual advice and counseling. He even receives a daily devotional that he uses each morning. The president's Christian faith is a part of who he is, but not a part of what the public or the media is focused on every day. The fact check that they even had to make this statement. What does it tell you about the White House concerns about these polls?
Well, at this point, I feel bad for them because they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Either they have this enormous percentage of the country thinking that he's Muslim, which doesn't make any sense, or they have to come out and say, no, you don't understand. I just prayed a minute ago, and I'm going to pray it again 5 minutes from now. I mean, Lincoln didn't have any displays of religion outwardly, and nobody questioned him on them. There weren't bloggers wondering if Lincoln was a Muslim or a Martian. But what can Obama do? He's got to come out and say, yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm praying 3 times a day. I don't know. It's absurd, but he's got to do it.
Is there a negative association, JP, with the idea that he would be Muslim?
I don't think that there is one, but I also think that there's a lot of confusion out there. I mean, for a lot of time, President Obama as a candidate, spent a lot of time trying to downplay his Muslim roots, which he has, obviously. His father was Muslim. And then when he went abroad, the first tour in the Middle East, he was talking about his Muslim roots and saying how he sort of shared a heritage. And I really don't blame the American people for being confused about that, and I don't think that it's mean-spirited.
Well, a lot of people also talked, I thought, on and on and on about his relationship with Trinity Church. Now, granted, it was in relationship to a controversial pastor, but I think it was widely talked about at that time that he had been a church-going member of that parish.
Well, it's even more confusing there because when he was talking about his relationship with that church, he said, "Well, I didn't really go that much." When in fact he had also said prior to that, prior to it becoming a hot button issue, that he was very close with his pastor. So again, you have this back and forth thing, so people are going to be naturally confused.
But wait, I gotta ask JP. I mean, do you think the conservatives don't demagogue on this at all? Do you think Rush Limbaugh on Fox News Channel isn't riling up hate? I mean, Newt Gingrich is on there comparing Muslims to Nazis and skinheads. That was Karl Rove on the skinheads.
Well, I think I understand your point, and I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to sort of exploit his ambivalence, right? I mean, they're trying to say, look, he hasn't even come out firmly on his faith. He's not even really outward about this. I mean, you said that Abraham Lincoln didn't really talk about his faith. I mean, it was in almost every other speech. He was quoting Bible passages all the time. That's that's not true. But I mean,
he didn't outwardly go to church and say, "Oh, I'm going to church. Here I am, Lincoln, walking to church."
Well, but this is a whole different. I mean, we're in a little different media age.
And
now.
he had a very bad relationship with the preachers and the pastors at the time. I'm just putting it in historical context.
But it is important to note that, you know, when we look at President Obama on a Sunday, he's most often golfing, that he doesn't have a relationship with the church, and these are not negatives, you know, in my mind. But I think that it does not lend itself to people thinking that he has a very clear relationship with the Christian church.
JP, let me ask Cenk about that point.
Okay.
Is it a negative in a lot of voters' minds that he's on the golf course and not at church on Sunday morning?
Actually, I mean, look.
Does it
First
matter?
of all,
I think
first of all, you have people like
JP
JP saying, rightfully so, hey, you know what, it shouldn't matter, right? But on the other hand, if he doesn't, then they're like, hey, he's on a golf course, he's not at church. So does it matter or does it not matter? If you ask me, the reality is, look, I wish it didn't matter, but if I was Obama's team, and I don't like to play politics, but if I was Obama's team, I'd be like, look, you got to get inside a church right away, because
right.
it's not looking right. I mean, look, it's of course not just Obama's problem. John Boehner went golfing 119 times last year alone, but nobody's asking him about his church. Obama's got this issue, rightly or wrongly, it's been brought up, and unfortunately he's got to address it.
And now they're making statements about it. Cenk Uygur, J.P. Freire, thanks guys, have a great weekend.
Thank you.